Hello and welcome to Victory Points. I'm Jake Michels, and this is a podcast about people who love tabletop games, interviewing people who love tabletop games about the tabletop games they love. I'm flying solo today because Becca is over in the United Kingdom filming for Games Workshop some exciting how-to-play videos, so you just get me and our lovely guest. This week, our guest is Cecilia.
Hi.
Anna is an actor, writer, director, and graphic designer. She's a creator of awesome graphic tees, a photographer, a sketch comedy guru. My words, not hers.
Also, my words.
Yeah, that's true. It was your words.
They were my words. I like to brag.
You immediately said it kind of sounds...
I sound like a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a guru. But you are actually...
Yeah, it's
you're
like
knowledgeable.
I teach. Sometimes I coach. So technically, I do impart sketch comedy knowledge
wisdom
upon other people.
Where does the guru line get drawn, though? Because when do you become a guru from being a teacher or an advisor or a director?
Oh, I guess when people seek you out for those skills.
When a journey is set upon, and you are the result.
Yeah, I think if it were just like me being like, hey, I got stuff to tell you.
Yeah, gurus don't solicit hard.
No. So when like people I don't know are reaching out to me, then I'm like, okay, cool.
I feel like a source of wisdom.
Yeah, and that started to happen more and more. So I feel pretty cool.
You don't sit on like higher elevated places.
No, I'd like to sit lower down. I'm not a big fan of heights.
Yeah,
so.
people have to delve to get you.
Yeah.
Got it. Love it. Well, today we're going to talk about some of Anna's favorite games, including Agricola, and what it's like to be
Is that how you pronounce it?
No. So there is actually a dispute on this.
Okay.
Agricola and Agricola. I think it's an either situation according to the people I've talked to.
Ooh.
If I get letters about this, I'll be excited because I don't get letters.
Oh, someone sent Jake an angry letter.
Yeah,
or not angry.
Yeah, or, you know what? You choose the tone.
Yeah.
I'll still read it.
Yeah, or you could choose to read it in whichever tone you think it might be written in.
So did you call it?
I've always called it Agricola.
Yeah, sure.
Because it sounds more Greek, which I know it sounds weird because I don't even think it's like Greek.
It's not.
There's something about it that feels like, it's like an ancient civilization. Agricola.
Therefore, the Greeks were
like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Like Agricola sounds like an off-brand soda.
I'm pretty sure it's German.
They all are.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about what it's like being what she calls a basic board gamer.
I am. I feel like I love playing board games, but I don't know all like... I'm not like deep in like board game culture, you know? Like I remember when I found out about Catan, I was like, oh, nobody knows about Catan. I'm so freaking cool. And like everyone knew about Catan. So I was like, cool, I guess I'm basic.
Well, we have a lot of people on here who are very deep into it. And probably a lot of our listeners also are very much have already delved well into the hobby. So I think it's actually great to have someone who's a little more surface because you have a different insight for us.
I do. I just like to have fun. And I like to feel smart.
Unlike us.
Yeah.
We're also going to delve into the world of design. I haven't even told her that. And talk a little bit about what makes design so important, not only in games, but in life.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
If I see an ugly board game, not interested.
Really?
I mean, it makes me feel differently about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way. Why?
I don't know. It feels like, you're going to be staring at this for like hours. It should be like pleasing.
Appealing.
And it should also fit like the tone of what the game is.
It should be eye candy.
Yeah. Like I was thinking about code names, which I don't know if it's a card. I don't know what. I guess
it is. We class it. This is a tabletop.
It's a table. You play it on top of a table.
Yeah,
you could play it on the floor, but
we have before.
But I was thinking
at Steve Irwin's house.
At Steve, where we grew up.
Right.
But the cards are so boring, like the actual word cards. But then I started thinking, like, maybe they're supposed to look like files or something.
Yeah, I think they are. That's exactly what they are.
But then the font choice is horrible.
Yeah, well, and then there's not consistency on both sides. One's faded and one's not. So it's like my brain kind of, even when I am on the upside down, I'm still trying to read the other side.
Yeah, because it's like such a bolder, and like darker.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I think it should be couriered, to be frank.
Well,
if we're getting there, let's go there.
I mean, that's topic number 2, and it's after the break, but that's a good preview. I'm excited to see where that goes.
We're going to dive deep into fonts.
I got a whole section on Ozark. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
I guess I'm supposed to, according to Becca's template for what she left me on her notes, she likes to talk about tabletop world news.
Ooh.
And I looked up a few things, and actually something that really stuck out to me was a little bit borderline political, which we don't really get too much on this show. And every time Becca does, She tries to get back out of it. But actually, the Chinese tariffs that have been proposed recently by our current administration is actually going to be bad for board games.
Because they're already so expensive.
But really specifically for board game designers, because a lot of those pieces, parts, dice, and toys, etc., come from China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're subject to, I believe, a 25% tariff if they go up on June 15th. I'm not sure when this podcast is going to be posted, so it's going to be around that time.
Uh-oh.
So that could be
So
monstrous.
go buy all your board games now.
Yeah. Order them now, right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. I just assumed that, like if a board game is made wherever, that all the pieces come from the same place.
Yeah, no.
That's,
the way manufacturing is done around here, it's much more common for it to be built in China, or at least the parts to be assembled there. Yeah.
Damn. So, I mean, I don't want to get political, but
you know what?
I'll say I'm upset about that.
Okay, good. Nice.
Yeah.
You played it safe, but also made a statement.
Yeah, I'm upset.
I am equally upset.
Oh, it's good content. Good content.
Let's actually just start with a little bit about you. When did you first start playing board games? What's your board game life?
Ooh, what is my board game life? I mean, I have two brothers, so we always played various games growing up. But my older brother Patrick, he came in, I think during college, and like one over like Thanksgiving or Christmas break, he Catan might have been the first one. He brought one. He was like, "You gotta check this out." And then I felt like every year, like every holiday, he would bring in a new
something
German style complicated board game, and they were all so fun because I mean, I don't like to, I like to use my mind. Sometimes I like to be lazy, but sometimes
You seem ashamed for wanting to use your mind a little bit.
I know. Well, I didn't want to, you know why? Because in my mind, I was like, I didn't want to be like, because I went to Harvard, because then I'm the one who's bringing it up like a jerk. But yeah, I'm a nerd. And I feel like in most of my life, I like to be a little lazy, but I feel like board games are like a fun way to have to go into overdrive.
Yeah, for sure, because you can get intense about it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's an intellectual, intense, competitive thing that has zero stakes.
Yeah.
It has the stakes of the people in the
pride.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, which has a lot of stakes.
Yeah.
Honestly. So he brought you Catan.
Do you say Catan?
Oh no.
More debates about pronunciation.
So he brought you Catan or Catan. I'm not sure. Is it either?
I mean, I don't know. I've always said Catan, but it could be Catan. I mean, Catan sounds more formal.
Yeah. So he brought your Seatlers of Catan.
Yeah, Seatlers. Oaf Catan.
But why? why did it grab you though? Like, I mean, you played board games before.
Yeah, but I feel like because it was so variable. I feel like so much of. I mean, there's a little bit of luck involved, but it's so much strategy based, and I feel like so many. Board games that you play as a kid or all just which card did you draw and what dice did you roll? Whereas that required planning and strategy and manipulation and I don't know, just
and there's an internal economy which never is really true except for in games like Monopoly, which are hard to get through.
Oh,
right?
Monopoly.
Yeah. We don't need to go down the road.
I don't want to crap on Monopoly, but I will if you want me to.
It's literally a theme of this. Whenever we talk to people about where they start with board games, it has to kind of get mentioned because it's part of everybody's origin story, and everybody kind of has this mostly the same reaction to it. Some people still adore it or do different versions of it.
I just don't know if I ever if we ever got through a full game of Monopoly.
Yeah. Not happily.
No.
Yeah.
Because if someone ends up having so much money, with Catan, there's an element of surprise, because you've got your victory point cards and you just don't know, you think you're winning and then you're cool, I'm 2 moves away, and then all of a sudden someone pulls out, cool, I have 3 hidden victory points, I win, and you're just great.
The tipping over of the edge kind of thing.
Whereas Monopoly, you're just cool, this person is clearly going to win.
Yeah.
They're
It's
just
a slow,
getting
painful
more and more money. Yeah.
descent into hell.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Monopoly. A slow and painful descent into hell.
From Milton Bradley. And then we'll just pull that for the next advertisement for the sponsored episode.
Oh, great. For Milton Bradley sponsored this episode.
I don't even know if they're still a company anymore.
I think they are. They've got to be, right?
They might have got bought by something bigger.
Oh, maybe.
Which is probably the case. So you play board games now as an adult?
I do play board games now.
Frequently, or was there a friend group? Is there a... you don't go to game stores?
I don't go. Are there game stores specifically? Games?
Like game cafes. Have you not been to a game cafe?
You mean like where you go and have coffee and then play games?
That they have.
I have been to one of them. There was a place like that in Houston where I'm from. Shout out to Houston.
Houston.
It was like a place like it was called Dessert Gallery, and it was like
Absolutely.
They had cakes and like it was just like cake and board games, which is like two of my favorite things. So I can't believe I didn't.
That's a great idea for a store. Cake and board games.
I can't believe I didn't go more often. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess I didn't really.
You haven't delved that.
I haven't delved. Yeah, I don't. I feel like I just play games casually now. With like, my friends, have various game nights. Like we had a game night a few nights ago, and I was so excited to bring code names. And it's so funny because I realized immediately, like, oh, this is not that social of a game.
Yeah, that's not the room, right?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of what I want to talk about is because it's reading the room or like finding the right vibe for a game, whether it's Codenames level or whether it's like, Puerto Rico level or whatever that is. Like those things define the evening.
Yeah.
Right?
Like we ended up playing Taboo, which is like fun, but it's like definitely like not a hard game and everyone's like participating. Whereas like
way looser, right?
Codenames is like you're sitting there in silence and just like beans 3. and then you just sit like you can't say it. There's so much of like when you're playing with people for the first time of being like, no, you can't say you can't say anything. You can only say the word, the clue, and the number, and that's it. And then like, and then yeah. And yeah, it's just that either people love it or they're just not into it. And then you're like, cool, like. Yeah.
Then it kind of sours the mood if you try and it fails.
Yeah.
It's a risk, right?
Yeah. We played like one round and it went fine. But I've definitely played it before with people where, oh man, like people, I have one friend whose name I shall not mention, but he gets so competitive. And I remember we played once and he was like, because we had to split up into a team of like 2 and 3, and so he was just with one other person, and he was just like screaming.
No,
it was really funny.
Good natured screaming.
Yeah, it was good natured screaming, but also we weren't sure.
Still intense.
Yeah.
Still in that poor person's face.
Yeah. Luckily, everyone had a positive attitude about it. Yeah.
But that's the thing I like trying to figure out is like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. We've all had too much wine.
Yes.
Is it really time to start this game that we decided we were going to do?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to me, actually. So this what was last weekend, as a matter of fact. Some friends wanted to try this game called Viticulture. Viticulture is not unlike, actually, Agricola because it's worker placement where you take your family members and put them places. But in this, you are running a vineyard and you have workers and you're sending them to different places to go gather grapes, and then you use them to harvest the grapes and crush the grapes and make wine.
That sounds great.
It is, except it is as complex as Agricola.
Yeah.
And it was 10 o'clock at night and they had all had too much wine.
Yeah, that's not a game you start at the end of the night when you have never played it before, probably.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But the whole purpose of the evening was for that. So there was a whole context of like, we were going to sit down and do this. And so they all tried. They did. We sat down and started it at 10 o'clock and they all had a good time. But we quit around 12:30.
Yeah.
And because we had to.
Yeah.
It was what was realistic.
You're just like, we're tired.
Yeah.
This game is long.
Yeah.
It'd be like trying to teach yourself Twilight Struggle.
Let's talk about Twilight Struggle.
Let's talk about Twilight Struggle.
It was a struggle for you.
Oh, that was one, yeah, because my brother brought it home for, it might have been Christmas. I don't remember. And
actually, I want to hear you describe what Twilight Struggle is to the viewers or to the listeners in case they don't know.
In case you don't know, Twilight Struggle is a 2-person game that lasts post-instructions between 5 to 7 hours.
And that's just the description on the box.
Yeah,
right
and it's about the Cold War. So if you're a history...
Your favorite war, right?
Yeah, my favorite of the many wars. If you're a history buff who has one friend, it is the perfect game for you.
I will say I do have a friend who loves this game.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've played it once and I didn't love it, but like I see why some people would.
Sure.
But I agree. Like it's quite a haul to learn.
Yeah, that was the problem. It was like, cool. I think maybe the game didn't take 7 hours, but it took legit. And like, we're both game people. We're both fast learners. It took us an hour and a half just to go through the instructions for the game.
It's a game that has enough changing rules throughout the ages that you kind of want to get a concept of it first before you go through, and that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like you have to stumble through it first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not, you don't casually sit down at a game night, again, unless there's only 2 people at this game night and you start at 4 p.m.
There's such an emphasis on 2 players. Have you not played a lot of 2-player games?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to find a good one?
Other than Twilight Struggle? I mean, I would love a good 2-person game because, yeah, I think so many of the games we have are
made for groups.
And like, I guess that's sort of the context in which you normally have a game night. Although Colin and I played Pretty Pretty Princess the other day, and you can play that with 2 people. So,
well, I'm also asking because the people that hosted that viticulture party were saying, we watch too much TV together. Like, that's how we spend a lot of our time. We need to get into something a little bit more intellectually and conversationally stimulating at night instead of 5 hours binging stuff we do like to watch, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so they took the impetus of like, hey, we want to learn board games because we kind of like them. And so they went down this road now. But like, it is a nice thing that Katie, my wife, and I do too, is like we play board games a little bit more when we were like kind of burnt out on TV.
Yeah.
And
that's a great idea. Yeah. Because so many games, like, I guess there's like, if you're just playing cards or something, like that's a 2-person game sometimes.
But listen to the tone again. If you're just playing cards or something.
Oh. You're right. I guess, do you know a lot of 2-person?
I know lots. And I have so many to show you.
Yay, give them to me. I will steal them.
I will, and I'll tell you more about them shortly. But first, let's go to a quick break. And we're back with Anna Cecilia, who you can't see it, but she's primping her hair.
I'm fluffing. Hello.
It looks so good. You just came from an audition.
I did.
So you look great.
Thank you so much. It's just all I ever need to hear.
Did the casting director say you look great?
No, fucking bitch. Just kidding. Thank you so much for calling me.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. It's an honor just to be in the room.
Do you find that when you don't seem desperate, you get the call back more often?
Honestly, maybe. I guess I just don't ever try to. I don't think I'm really like desperate anymore. Maybe when I first came out here, I was like so eager, and now most of the time when I get an audition, I'm just like pissed.
Let me rephrase. Desperate was maybe the wrong word for it. Like, if you seem very thankful or like very appreciative and like into it, like, hi, oh yes, I'm so happy to be here or whatever. Yeah. Like the too optimistic, right?
Yeah. It's a fine line though, because I feel like if I don't. Because you want to leave and be like gracious, but you also don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to seem needy. You don't want to seem needy.
That's the thing, and then you walk out without giving them like a thank you. Or whatever. They're like, who?
Wow. How? Yeah. But also like, if you don't make direct eye contact when you leave, I find that. But sometimes it's like you're trying to, and they're not looking. You're like, oh, cool. I definitely didn't book it.
Are they looking? Are they looking?
Yeah, they're looking. Are they wanting to keep? Oh god. Yeah, and it's funny too. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I had so much fun at this audition, and I feel like. Sometimes when I book something, it's when I go into the audition and I'm just like, I don't want to fucking be here right now. Yeah. Why am I here? I'm so angry. And like when I'm just like, I almost want to leave. And then like I end up booking it. So I felt that way before I went in. So who knows? I could book it.
There you
or
go.
I might have jinxed myself and I won't. So.
Yeah, either way.
There's, you know what? Acting is stupid. We're just like, because everything is so out of your control and you spend so much time like trying to find like logic in things that have no logic, which is why board games are so great because the logic is built in.
There's that segue.
Yeah.
Love that choice.
Thank you.
You mentioned Agricola to me when we kind of first met and talked about board games, and I was surprised because that's a deep one to kind of first mention. Like I expected Codenames or Catan first.
Yeah, well, I think that was like maybe like year 3 of our family exploration into board games. So I think it started with Catan is how I'm going to say it. And then and then we did Puerto Rico. And then I think the year after that was Agricola. And it was just like, so many more like levels and rules and like building onto it. But.
Agricola's, for those of you that don't know, is a worker placement game where you're taking your family members from your little farmhouse and sending them out to market to gather sheep, gather pigs.
Yeah, there's bulls too, I think.
Cattle, build fences.
Gotta build fences.
Harvest land, sow fields and harvest crops. It's a worker placement. You can fish.
I think,
you
right?
Can? Oh yes, there is fishing. No, you're right. Yeah, that's to get the food tokens.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a pretty it's a somewhat it is complex. Let me try this.
Oh my God, Jake is having a meltdown, guys. Jake
sentence was a struggle.
Is freaking out. A Twilight struggle.
It's a pretty complex game for sure in terms of all the different mechanics for gaining your resources and putting them together. But what makes it, to me, super interesting and actually gives it an endless amounts of depth is the cards.
Yes,
the action cards that give you a bunch of rolls, right?
The cards are the thing that give you the most control, but they're also the most confusing because you have no idea what is going to be helpful to you like 7 turns down the road.
Yeah, they all are. Each card is kind of something that like either gives you a free thing or like breaks a rule in some interesting way for you only. Yeah. So it kind of dictates your strategy a little bit for you. You don't have to follow it, but it's kind of suboptimal to at least not follow some of the cards.
But you don't even have to take the cards, right? Because that's like because every turn you have like 2, is it like 2 moves at least at the beginning?
Correct.
And then you can choose like, cool, I'm going to purchase a card on this move. So that you can also just like, that's sometimes my strategy.
Fuck them cards.
Fuck them cards. Just don't purchase anything. Just try to get all the supplies and try to get out. Because sometimes you have to spend so much time like building up to like be able to purchase the card, and then you're like, you don't even have time to use it.
Yeah, but there's such a crazy amount of cards. I think there's maybe even a couple hundred.
Really?
Well, maybe with expansions. I can't remember. Go ahead and write letters and let me know.
Yeah, write angry or non-angry letters to Jake.
Yeah, we don't have a mailing address, so figure it out.
Good luck.
But the endless amount of the high amount of cards really adds pretty much infinite replayability to that, which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned Puerto Rico, which I haven't played in a long time.
I haven't played it either. I used to have friends. I don't have them anymore. No, a group of friends who we used to play that game every once in a while, and maybe they still play it, and I just couldn't ever go, and so they stopped inviting me.
Maybe they still have friends.
Maybe they have friends.
Maybe they have each other still.
Oof. Okay. But yeah, I think I hadn't played in a while, and I was like, oh yeah, this game's easy. And then I sat down, and I was like, wait, what is this game? But that's I think there's an app too. I think there's an app.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
That one's fun.
Which is an economy/city building game.
Right.
You're not quite worker placement, but you're spending a certain amount of actions to go grab stuff.
Yeah. And that one I think is interesting compared to Catan. Now I want to call it Catan. Because there are clear, talking about design, there are clear like labels on everything for like, cool, this is indigo. This is it corn?
Corn or wheat.
Corn or and then whereas like with Catan, like nothing is labeled, so it's so funny. Like playing with my family, we would call things certain resources, certain things, which I don't think is what technically they're called. Like
I'll give you some oranges for some beiges.
Yeah. Or we're like, ooh, can't wait to get all this sheep, and it's not. It's wool.
I think most people make that call.
Yeah, like let's have the sheep and the a lot of sheep jokes. A lot of hoarding of sheep would happen in our family.
You sheep hoarder.
Yeah. Hoarder.
Have you played any? Have I shown you any other worker placement games? I'm trying to think.
What did we play on Game of the Game? Can I mention that here? Is that cross contamination?
It's called cross promotion, and it's great.
Game of the Game, watch it, Geek and Sundry, baby. What did we play? We played the one we were on a spaceship where I refused to do any engine building.
That is technically worker placement. Scorpius Freighter.
That was fun.
Anna was a smuggling captain of our own space freighter, and you were trying to build a lot of cargo space in your ship to haul illegal cargo. Anna's strategy was to build very little cargo space and haul very little cargo.
Yep, you're welcome.
She ended up, I think, losing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But not by a lot.
Not by a lot. Surprisingly, still very much in the game.
Yeah,
because your ship was so sleek, you actually got to deliver a lot.
Yeah, because I spent less time trying to like build up resources that I then had to get rid of to like build my ship. Basically, I was playing a little bit at a time as opposed to like trying to like quickly do everything at the end, which is sort of what happens when you're trying to build your engine. Because then you're like, cool, I have nothing, and then hopefully it's a Monopoly type strategy where at the end you all of a sudden are like just accruing everything.
Yeah. Well, that's a game that too you the ending happens so quickly.
So
You're
fast.
like, oh, we're in it now.
Yeah. Oh God. Nothing was happening, and now everything is happening.
You liked that game a lot, didn't you?
I
Because
did.
Becca
I had
liked
fun.
it too.
Yeah,
I was really frustrated about like the way you can choose where you go is dictated on what the person did last turn. So I don't know if you remember, but the little spaceships would go around the planets, and then you could only move so far around those planets.
Right, and you had to hope that the person ahead of you would either make the move that you needed them to make so that you could make your move, or not make that move because then they were going to take your move.
Yeah,
very dependent on what the other player's doing, and you're not working together. You're working against each other, so
and you don't even know what helps them. So like you don't have a choice to.
So I guess it's kind of like Catan in that way. Because you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see like, oh, this person's trying to build longest road. Like, I should try to stop them from building longest road. That's kind of the limit.
Like Catan, once you play a bunch of these, you kind of see that, the dice dictate more than you think in terms of the economy.
That's true. I've had some very unlucky games where like people just keep rolling 7.
Yeah,
and you're just like, oh my God, we are
stealing.
robbing all over the place. This is horrible. Yeah. And again, design. I love that about Catan, that all the little pieces, like say like cool, like 6 and 8 are red, like just in case you didn't realize those are going to be the most rolled numbers. And then the little dots underneath. So
the dots.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's jump into the design portion of this. And actually,
do it.
Let's get into it.
Let's just get crazy.
The thing about those dots and versus like writing things out, which I've started to discover, and maybe this is new to me, but maybe it's common knowledge, is like a lot of European games do a lot of symbols to represent instructions. So like the dots and like the lettering and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of American games flat out write sentences or words for you to understand what the rules are. And I found both to have their ups and downs, but like from a graphic design standpoint, I'm not sure which is ultimately better. I feel like the Euro way of symbols is good, but it takes time to learn.
Yeah, it takes time to learn, but it probably makes sense on the, back to the manufacturing side of it, because they don't have to make a different version of the game for different countries.
For languages, yes, very good point.
Unless like, you don't use the Roman alphabet, in which case they'd have to make a different version for you.
Very true.
But yeah, it would cover a lot of bases that way. I don't know. I mean, definitely from when you're learning it for the first time, having things like written out on the pieces is like, the indigo or whatever is helpful. But then you don't get fun things like your family mistakenly calling a board game piece sheep when it's wool.
There's the benefit of misunderstanding what's going on.
Yeah, which is great when you're playing a game. Just confusion generally. I mean, it's definitely a cleaner design to just be like images.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's that game? Have you played that game? And it's kind of like code names, but they're just images.
Dixit?
Yes.
So Dixit's a lot like Apples to Apples, where like one person, instead of selecting a card from Apples to Apples, they say they put down a card of art face down, right? And then they say a word, just a single word.
Is that how you play it?
If this is the same game.
I think this is what it is. I just only played it like twice, like 4 years ago.
Then everybody has a hand of cards that all have art on them without any words, and they all put down in that same pile what they think would best maybe represent that word. And then the main person picks up, whoever is the active player, picks up all the cards and has to guess which one is the real one.
Oh, so it's kind of like
everybody votes. Everybody votes on what they think that the lead person put in.
Oh.
So you can bluff with other people.
So it's kind of like Drawful.
Yeah, similar to Drawful as well. Apples to Apples, even Cards Against Humanity is the same mechanic.
But Apples to Apples, you're not guessing which one they put down. You're just guessing the best one.
That's true. That is true. Yes. Yeah. Fair point.
I just schooled Jake.
Hard.
Not really.
That's why you're a guru. I should come to you for this kind of knowledge.
I regret saying it. I regret it.
I'm so happy you did. Let's talk about design, because this is something you are also a guru in, I would say.
I don't know if I'm a full guru. I enjoy it. I have a photography degree, and I dabble in graphic design and art.
Let's actually zoom out into a weird place to just go say, what is design? Like, I mean that literally. Like, how do you define that?
Oh, God. I don't know. Design, just artistic design?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just putting something together visually, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But there's sound design too. Yeah, but all different types.
I guess that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I guess true. Design in general, just putting the pieces of something together.
I'm not asking to be a jerk. I'm asking more to wonder when I have in a creative process, design is something that I say I don't actively think about until I should. And I want to think about it more. And it's something I think I appreciate in the back of my mind, but don't actively participate in.
When you're playing a game or just in general?
And in life.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like I'm moving recently and like.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But like with our new apartment, I don't have a whole lot of aesthetic opinions. And my life partner does. And like that kind of difference is like, well, why don't I have more aesthetic opinions? I know what I like. I know when she designs things, I definitely like it. Why don't I have these things? But it's just another part of building a project or doing anything is like you're focusing more on the engineering of it or like you're focusing on the fun of it. Why does design just one portion?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, I feel like, not that I don't have a lot, like I feel like I'm building my interior design aesthetic, but I think just because we always went to art museums when I was younger, and I don't know if I'm answering this question at all.
I don't even know what my question is.
Yeah. I'm just talking now. But I took art classes, like always used to teach I was a teacher's assistant at an art school through high school, and just like something being the visuals of anything are always just very interesting to me, and I like hyper focus on it, and I like if something's pleasing or not pleasing to me.
It's important, right?
It's very important.
See, that's what I guess I'm trying to get at is like I think it's undervalued.
Yeah.
In most commonplace, in anything really, because take for instance, you said earlier that there were board games that turned you off just because of their design. You literally kind of judge the book by its cover, right?
Sure.
And I mean, I do the same thing, and I probably shouldn't do that because I played a lot of ugly games that were a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was that? We played some game the other day at your house. I did not like the aesthetics of it.
What did we play? Lords and Ladies? No.
The one with like gems?
Oh, Unearth? No, that was fun. Oh,
I mean, I love the game.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
mean
saying,
Splendor?
Yeah, I don't like the art on it.
Where we had the gems, we were trading them for cards.
Yeah,
and the cards had points.
I think the game is great.
Yeah,
I don't like the art.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Splendor, yeah.
I think the art is like trying to be too realistic or something. There's something about it that feels like I love art. I do not like 18th and 19th century like oil paintings of royal families,
which is kind of what it was.
Which is kind of what it is. And I feel like there's just an inundation of that in like a lot of art museums.
You've seen it,
and you see like I sound like an asshole and like so ignorant, but truly to me, when you've seen one, you've seen them all. They all look the same to me after a while. Like I love impressionist art. I love modern art. I'd rather see like when people like it's a pedestal and they just put like a broom or a shoe on it and they're like, this is about my struggle with my father, and like to me, like I would rather see that than like a row of oil paintings.
What is the board game equivalent of this?
Of like just some weird minimalist like bullshit thing. I mean, I call it bullshit. I also love it.
It's a box with a blank board that the game is called "This is a statement about my father."
Yeah. Make that game. I guess there really isn't any. I can't think of like a game that has that kind of like weird anti-art aesthetic.
I don't think there is one, nor would it sell well.
Or maybe like Cards Against Humanity is very like all it is just like black and white, like just some like font that is similar to Arial but like slightly more pleasant. You know, it's very basic.
Yeah, it's more of it's like more of a kind of an improv game a little bit.
Yeah.
Not even. Yeah.
It's just Yeah, because you're more about the experience than the visual. But the visuals are very strong. You're just like, cool, this is it. It's just a simple...
Was there a game that drew you in because of its art?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I know while you're thinking, I know if Becca were here, she'd obviously mention Court of the Dead, which she's talked about on this before.
I don't know that one.
It's a pretty complex, also worker placement game and pretty fun. But it's what really does hook you is the miniatures are not only... beautifully rendered, but the art on all of the cards is all like really high fantasy, dark death, demons and monsters, and it's all the board is like a twilight blue, almost glows, but it doesn't. It's one of those. It's one of the lighting patterns that looks like it glows, but it's just so wonderfully balanced.
The color, that sounds amazing. I did buy a game once. I guess I did have board games when I was like girly board games when I was little. I think I told you. I threw out, and Jake is very upset with me.
I threw out
Mall Madness and Dream Phone, and I had them for like decades because the batteries had like rotted and they no longer worked. Like I love the aesthetic of Dream Phone is so aggressively 90s, and I love it. It's like black and like neon pink and yellow and orange, and it's like it's great. And they have these cards of like these like I think they're photos of these guys.
Yeah.
And they're like 90s, I'm putting air quotes, they're 90s attractive, you know, like they all have like that floppy hair and like it's like so weird, like
just pre Backstreet Boys or right before that, in between New Kids and Backstreet era.
Like definitely they would not be considered attractive.
None?
Maybe a couple.
We should do is Where Are They Now for the guys that are on electronic phone.
If you are Dream Phone, one of the models from Dream Phone, please reach out to Jake.
Send me a happy letter.
Yeah, happy letter.
And we'll have you on the show.
Yep.
How it changed your life, the types of phone calls you may have got. So it had a plastic phone, right?
Yeah, it had like a center plastic console. So the board was like an octagon, I think, or maybe a hexagon, and it came around, and then it had all the little places that you go to, like we're at the mall. And like the recording of the woman on the phone. It's like, he looks cool in whatever he wears. He's not wearing a jacket. And like it all had that weird like rhythm to it.
The pause, because they probably would fill it in depending on what he's wearing?
Probably, yeah. Like, yeah, there was like, they all had different like catchphrases before each of them. Like they were like, what is he wearing? What does he like to eat? What is his activity? Like, it was so funny. But then every once in a while you'd call someone and you'd get it'd be the guy, and he'd be like, I know who it is, but I'm not telling. Ha, ha. These guys were jerks.
He's a hard worker who works down at the factory. He has acid burns.
This is the gritty version of Dream
All right,
Phone.
so there's only two guys with acid burns in my hand.
Ooh,
so
which one do I want to date?
Paul or Freaky Tom.
Oh yeah, they all had names like that. Like Paul, Mark, all like one syllable or like two syllable.
Well, you don't want it to be too complex.
Yeah. But anyway, why I got off on this, like that has such a 90s aesthetic, and even like Mall Madness is like, it's kind of borderline 80s, 90s, but there was this one game that I wanted, and my mom bought it for me, and it was like Kingdom of the Crystals or some crystal thing. And I guess it was kind of a Dungeons and Dragons style like role-playing game. And it came with like a cassette that you would play along with it. And I think I only saw it because I saw the commercial, and the art looked magical. And I tried to play it multiple times and could never figure it out because do you need me to look it up?
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Look up like Crystal's 90s board game.
Oh. We can edit around this too.
No, keep it all in.
Tale of the Crystal.
Tale of the Crystal, that might be it. Let me see it. Yes, this
all
woman
right.
with the unicorn.
Okay, so it's Tales of the Crystals. Oh, this is painfully 90s.
Yeah, so the art, and I was like, ooh, this looks like beautiful and magical. I was like, I want to play it, and I couldn't never figure out how to play it. I would like start and be like, because I think it was like a Dungeons and Dragons style role-playing game, and I didn't understand how to do that. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And so I would just, like, every time I would start to play it, and then I would just stop because I didn't get it.
Can I read the backboard description?
Yes.
Change your home into the magical land of Collingwood. Spelled Collingwood. So is that Collingwood or Collingwood?
It was Collingwood, I think.
Okay, great. In the blink of an eye, your backyard can become Collingwood's whispering forest, your bedroom, the secret garden, or your attic, the evil castle of dread. With your imagination and the tales of the Crystals game, you and your friends will each play a role in a unique fantasy adventure. You'll meet a beautiful fairy queen, listen to a talking tree, laugh at a mischievous sprite, ride unicorns, dance at a forest festival, and battle swamp goblins and an evil witch. That's a long list. Listen closely as the exciting audio cassette guides. What? As the audio cassette guides you. Play fantasy cards to create challenges every time you play. Use the special powers given to you by your crystal pendants. You had crystal pendants?
Mm-hmm.
Discover secret hidden messages, answer important questions with the jewel crystals and the wheel of choices. The fun is endless. This is intense.
That was the thing. I think I must have been like too young to understand it, but yeah, for sure it felt like like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, and I didn't know how to do it, but like for girls. Yeah, and there were things like, okay, and then now touch your pendant to something, and then like nothing would happen, and I didn't.
Was it a magnet or something?
No, I think it was just supposed to be like in your imagination, but I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But anyway, if you have played Tales of the Crystals and you understood it, please reach out to me. I would love, if you still have it, I would love to be able to play it once.
Yeah, come on over. We'll play it. Come to California.
Yeah, come find us.
I definitely want to like match up pendants and figure out what those things do.
It's like crossing swords. Touch your pendant to another girl's pendant.
You are bound now. I never played Mall Madness either.
Oh, Mall Madness is great.
That's moving around and shopping for stuff?
Yeah. Like all these games were so like sexist.
Cliche, yeah.
But yeah, you like, it was like, sorry, the Diet Coke's getting to me. Sponsored by Diet Coke. The board had like big plastic pieces at the end that were like, sort of like the upstairs tier of the mall, and I think like sounds came out of it, and you were like going around and trying to get all of the stuff at the different stores, and you had like a little fake like cardboard credit card, and
that must have felt good.
Yeah.
That's an aesthetic I bet you loved, right?
Yes.
That's a design choice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They could have just made it like you take the dollar bills out from your whatever from your bank.
It was a little credit
card. But they gave you a credit card.
And I think there were like 4 of them, so it was like each person got one, and they like had like, like
their
fake,
own personal
like Mastermart or whatever,
That's good design.
Yeah.
It genuinely is, because I actually never played Mall Madness, but I remember that. As soon as you said that, I was like, I remember those pieces, because a friend's sister had it, and I was like, that's kind of wow. Did they get a credit card?
Yeah.
Does that actually work? I mean, I was 5.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna go buy everything with this fake credit card.
It did make it feel a little bit more legit.
Yeah, you feel like, because then it's kind of like a role playing thing too. Of being like, ooh, I feel like an adult. I feel like I'm going to the mall. Like, this is what I see in all these movies of like people going to the mall. Like, now I'm doing it.
You can kind of immerse yourself too. There's a world. Like, I mean, like. It's funny because the game, we kind of roll our eyes at how basic it was, but and cliche and maybe a little sexist, but like, boy, it sure did give you a whole nother world to explore into.
It's very fun. Like, I feel like the aesthetics, you're right. It can get you to feel like what Tales of the Crystals was trying to do, which I clearly did not understand. But
you
like,
might have been too young.
I think I was. I think I was like 10, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, to to let you feel like you're somewhere else and like immerse yourself in a different little special place.
Not home.
The mall.
All right.
Let's go to the mall. Oh,
yeah. So, have you ever played Castles of Burgundy?
No.
This is an example of
I've
design.
I've been to Burgundy, though.
Way to top me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Was that on a Harvard field trip?
Oh. It was a family trip, and I remember it smelled really bad.
Oh, here we go.
No, we were near the ocean, and it was like during like anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it.
We're sponsored by Burgundy Wines.
Oof, Burgundy, you are great.
Just the whole region. Their municipality.
Yeah, go Burgundy.
It's a really great game that I think you will love when I teach it to you. But it is one of those games that has...
Oh my God, Jake.
It's a game that you'll really love when I finally show it to you. But when I do, you'll see that it's a game that has a lot of symbols in it that don't intrinsically make sense when you first learn the game. It's too overwhelming. There's too much information. There's little pictures of way too many things that point to arrows of other little things, of hexes that all look the same in different positions. That being said, once you've played the game 3 times, everything makes perfect sense and is so easy as a guide to reference to. I think that's really good design, but I can't tell, right? Because I was brutally confused the first time, and the art's kind of boring otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, what do you
sacrifice?
Yeah, because like you want it to be a game that people can understand immediately, unless you want it to be like, cool, this is only for people who are really into it and who care about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like either joke writing as well. It's like, we always try to trim the fat in joke writing, or sketch writing is try to get to it as quickly as possible. But sometimes it's worthwhile to set up in a long time and make sure you give a proper context to something
and
before you get to your punchline.
So much harder,
Yeah,
that's true.
Do you approach the same thing with designing graphic tees? Because your graphic tees are very base. Like, I mean, in that I mean, there's like one simple item in there.
Jake had this panicked look in his eye.
Very panicked.
He looked like, oh my God, Anna thinks I just was shitting on her
this
designs.
Shit is base.
Oh my God.
Because your stuff is like
basic.
Base?
It's like not even basic. It's base.
You don't even try.
No, I do. I have a very simple design aesthetic. I like bold colors and like sort of graphic shapes.
For reference, you should look at AnnaCeciliaPhotography.com so you know what we're talking about. Go to the graphic tees section.
Go to the graphic tees. I have an online store. I have tees. I have prints. I have pillows. Yeah, I do a lot of – when I first started doing it, I would take photographs and then manipulate them through Photoshop to sort of abstract them and just turn them into like the basic like geometric shapes that build up the images that I was basing them off of, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And then now I use that still a little bit, but I also kind of freehand a lot more. But yeah, I do. I like.
But you don't do a lot of complex or like overly layered things or.
No, I don't. I really don't have a lot of like lines in my work, if that.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly wouldn't split it between like the setup in the front and the punchline in the back or something like that.
Wait, what?
Like, you know.
Oh, I actually meant lines in the art.
Well, I was referencing the one graphic tee that I remember very distinctly because it's a note to Netflix.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have passionate feelings about Netflix.
Yeah, you do.
I am very upset about the Ozark title card font.
And we don't have to go down the full rabbit hole on this, but
but I'm going to explain it.
In a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, in a nutshell, the first time I saw the first episode of Ozark, the very first thing you see on the screen is just a black frame with just a very simple white sans serif font that says Netflix presents, and the next one says Ozark. And to be fair, I'd had a little wine, but I was like brutally offended by the font. I was like
stopped the show?
Yeah, I guess I turned to Colin and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like...
You're 8 seconds into this show.
8 seconds. The show hasn't even started. And I want to clarify, for those of you who are getting upset right now, you're like, I love Ozark. I love the pictograms that they do. I also love the pictograms. Like, because the actual official title card for every episode is the Ozark O that has, like, crosshairs in it. And then it has, like, 4
images.
Yeah, that
motifs.
represent things that are going to happen in the episode. And I love that. I think I'm like, cool, we all know that we're watching Ozark on Netflix because we got on Netflix and we selected Ozark. You don't need to have, I think that's what I hate about it. It's like, there's no reason to have those 2 cards.
Yeah.
They don't need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, you already have a really nice card that has the O.
And that O does a lot for you.
It does a lot. And
you pay attention to that O every time.
It's like important. It's interesting. It like pulls you in. And so like the O's are, I hate it too because it's not even Ariel. It's like.
It's not even Ariel.
And I don't like Ariel. I mean, Ariel's fine.
I've never had such hard opinions on Ariel versus Courier.
It's just, yeah. Courier has feeling. Courier means something. Ariel is lazy, but this is like, it's like they went out of their way, I think, to choose a font that is more boring than Ariel.
You think they went out of their way?
Well, it's either that or it was like they were editing it and they were like, cool, we're going to put the title card here. Let's just get a placeholder for now. And then they were like, oh, you know what? We forgot, but maybe people don't think it's like an artistic choice of like, because that's what it makes me feel like. When you're like, I majored in film for like a year and a half before I was like, fuck this, I'm doing photography.
Before I got the degree and moved to another one.
Yeah, I moved to another one. Yeah, I have many degrees. But it just feels like that when you're first starting out and you're like, oh, I'm like making an anti-choice, like the equivalent of the shoe on top of the podium.
Yes.
It's like saying something that I didn't like put in the effort to do. So it's just saying like, this is unimportant. And like, isn't that interesting? Like an interesting choice. It's like, no, there are so many fonts. Why did you pick that one? It says literally nothing. It says nothing.
All right.
Anyway. I think this is the most in-depth I've gone into this publicly.
That's great. I wanted someplace for it to be a testimony that Netflix can respond to.
But also Netflix, if you're hiring...
season 3, they're probably staffing up.
I mean, if you want me to do a new title card for you, I would do that.
Ooh, break the mold. Yeah, change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
The crosshair design with the images...
I love that.
I love it. Mm-hmm. And they're very simple little images that foreshadow something, and you because of how heavy and dark that show is, you always assume the worst.
Yeah.
Like if you just see like bars of a window or something, you're like, well, someone's being tortured and going to be killed.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true.
But sometimes it is. Yeah. You see like, oh, it's a little birdie. Yeah, someone's going to get murdered by a bird.
Anna, thanks so much for being here. Before we go, do you have anything else to like share with the world? Something interesting that's happened to you recently or anything you want to make sure the world can know about? If you don't, I can go first.
Oh, man.
While you're thinking.
Okay, you go.
I have something that actually still is kind of relevant to what we're talking about, which is a recommendation for a Netflix show that's called Abstract, The Art of Design.
Ooh.
Have you not seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, it's 8 episodes. I think it's a couple years old. It might have been in like 2017. But they follow a different type of designer in each episode. And they're about an hour long. The first one is on an illustrator. The second one is about the guy who made the Air Jordans.
Ooh.
And they do a stage designer. They do a visual design. They do a photographer, I believe, an architect. And it's just their process and what they do. And I think it's a really interesting delve into other people's work and where they come from. And even if you are involved in, actually, especially if you are involved in none of the fields mentioned, I think it's worth a watch because you can learn a lot from the way different people approach their art.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
What's
highly
it called?
recommend
The Art
it.
of Design?
The Art of Design. I went into it just kind of interested with the first episode of The Illustrator, and he talks a lot about, I like his workspace talk because he has like a desk for digital work and then a completely separate desk for like hand-drawn art.
That makes
and
sense.
It kind of puts his brain into different mode when he's in a different environment, which I really subscribe to. But then the second episode was the guy who designed the Air Jordans, and I'm not much of a sports guy, so I was kind of like, okay, is this going to be interesting? And I was floored because not only is there obviously so many intrinsic choices that go into shoe design, but the Air Jordan kind of changed shoes, I guess.
Yeah.
And the way shoes are marketed.
Yeah, it was the first time. I mean, I think that was the first time everyone was like, oh my God, I have to have this shoe.
Yeah. That was the shoe craze for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, highly recommend.
That sounds great.
Mhm.
I'll check it out. I don't.
Great.
I don't know.
What's something interesting you've experienced lately? You're going camping.
I am going camping. I'm really excited about that. I recommend it.
I've actually recommended it recently because I've been camping a lot too.
Oh, yeah?
So this is also going to become a camping podcast.
Yeah,
I
camping
guess.
podcast. We're not very. We've only gone camping twice. This is the third time we're taking.
What's a good game to bring camping is the question.
That is a great question. We were talking about if we should bring a game and which one, because it should be something that doesn't blow away.
Yes,
Because
very key.
our campsite, we've been there once before, and it does get a little windy.
Yeah, cards are tough.
Cards are tough.
Cards are also generally the best because they're so compact and lightweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're kind of stuck if the wind is there.
My brother, who introduces me to all these games, he just had a baby.
Congratulations.
Shout out to my niece.
You're a Tia.
I am a Tia. But for the baby shower, they had like the men hung out with my brother and then the women hung out with my sister-in-law. And this is game related. So he, because Colin, who I keep mentioning, Colin's my boyfriend. We live together right now.
Shout out to Colin,
shout out
sponsor
to
of the show. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you. So he went over there, and this I don't know what this game is called. I'll have maybe I don't know how we're gonna find out. The game is they had a bunch of logs, and they were like throwing the logs at other logs, but they were like very specific rules about. And like this, I think this is like a game that he bought, and it's like. So, like, you make a line. It seems like a game that's, like, easy to start getting an advantage and then very difficult to win. So, like, there'd be, like, a row of logs, and you have to, like, throw a log and try to knock a log over. And if you knock a log over on your team, then someone on the other team has to, like, they have to throw a log from the point where it was knocked over. That might be it. It had, like, it had a weird name.
Hey, play wooden throwing game. Regardless, it's a log throwing game, which you found good for camping because it's just throwing sticks.
I feel like that would be a great game for camping because, like, you're in the woods already. You're just throwing wood.
What is your camping experience?
Isn't that what you do when you go camping? You throw wood? No? What?
We got to start a camping podcast to get this right.
Anna,
Anna, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. me. This was fun.
Yeah, and thank you for listening. We're really hoping to get the word out. So tell your friends about this show. Like, subscribe, get on iTunes and rate it really highly. If you're planning to rate it lower, don't.
Don't rate it.
Yeah, just stop thinking about it. Think about other things.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go somewhere else.
Thank you, Anna, so much for being here. Thanks for Studio 71, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.